Many men will not move away from that circle to accept that there is a problem. And you see, if you don't know there is a problem, you can never fix it. Disciplined people say there is a problem. Let me use people who run. They will realize, by the way, I'm not hitting the time. Most men that are CEOs, even women, they would rather employ women. And one of the things they will tell you, women are consistent. Pastor Andrew, I can trust a woman. They are consistent. So I'm thinking, wow, that should be said of men. When you have lost hope, when you are distressed, when you are discontent, I know the feeling inside you, you don't want to put in the work. You don't want. You want to be alone. In fact, men say, I want to be in my nothing box. But this is the time you should be putting in the work. The men that followed David, they put in the work. Welcome to Great Men Podcast. Pastor Andrew is my name here. So delighted that today you have chosen to be a part of this podcast. We are always delighted here at Encounter to empower our men so that they can be great men. We're here to build a nation of great men. As I always say, when men are built, churches are better, communities better, wives are better, children are better. We want to build you as a man so that you can be the greatest that God created you to be. We are all sold out to men. We want to make sure that our men are firing on all cylinders. That's one of the greatest joy I have when I see men doing everything they can to be what God created them to be. So today I want to reflect on something called discipline. Discipline. And I want to use a story to bring hope to a lot of men. Many men have lost hope. Many men are in debt. Many men have lost vision. Many men have just given up on life. Actually, most men are now living an average life. And I want to tell you as a man out there, God has never created you to live an average life. Men were created to live the greatest life that God has created them to be. To be like Adam, who had the entire world to himself. Do you know that God still commands that upon you? So some of us men have lost hope. You don't know what to do. Your career is stagnated. You don't know where to go. Your marriage is failing. A lot of things around you are not working out. Your children are rebellious. So when you look around you, you feel you're trapped in this world and you don't know, how do I move out of this world? In fact, whenever you sleep, you're wondering, will it even come to morning? Should it even come into morning? In fact, one of the things that I was just reflecting on this year, I think 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, in 1 month, we lost around 5 men committed suicide in Uganda. And that was just so painful. And I know that as men, we're going through a lot of struggles that have sucked out hope from us. And I know what the scripture says. The scripture says, hope deferred makes a heart sick. Whenever we lose hope, our heart becomes sick, and hence we live a life that is in so much pain. Now, there's a story in the Bible. I love the Bible. I teach the Bible. I tell men that the Bible is the one instrument that can change your life inside out. There's a story in the Bible. I've just taught about this at church a couple of months ago on Your Environment is Killing You. There's a story of David and the men that were in the same situation I'm speaking about. Men that had lost hope, men that had given up on life, men that had given up on family. They were just wondering, they were ready to die. Life was difficult. And I'm telling you, life is difficult. The scripture says this in 1 Samuel chapter 22. All those who were in distress, in debt, discontented, gathered around him, around David. And he became their commander. About 400 men were with him. So the scripture says that men ran towards David. These men were in debt. These men were distressed. These men were discontent. Can you imagine that these men financially they're doing bad? And I know as men, nothing destroys a man's self-esteem, nothing destroys a man's hope when he's financially doing bad. So those are the men. They were running away and going to David. The other thing they say, they were distressed, meaning they were completely under the siege of anxiety. They were anxious. They were worried. And I know most of us men, we think a lot. Men are rational thinkers. They think a lot. And we live in our minds, and we're in that state of thinking, how can I solve this? How can I solve this? Men hardly share things until they have solved them. And this is where the men are. They try to solve the situation of, you know what, we need to deal with the debt issue. We need to deal with the droughts and all that. And these men were discontent, meaning they had completely lost hope for the future. And like one of my guys, yes, Jeff says that when you have completely lost your hope, that's a good place to start from. So are you there as a man and you have completely lost hope? You have given up on life. You are like these men, the 400 men. These 400 men had given up on life, completely given up. They're in debt, they're distressed, they're discontent, they're wondering what next. And actually, they had no answer. But you see, these men did something. When you hit rock bottom, there's one thing I want you to do. One thing. The word is called discipline. That word is a difficult word, but today I want to demystify it. Discipline. Discipline is absolutely critical in the time when you are very low. In fact, many psychologists teach that in order for you to treat depression, anxiety, they say one of the ways you treat it in men is to put them on something that will make them disciplined, is to put them on a rota, is to put them on a system, on a rhythm that is predictable. And I want to talk about that. So as a man, if you are there and you are like the men that ran in the cave with David, they did a couple of things, but all of them are wrapped under discipline. So what does discipline look like for a man when you have lost hope, when you have lost everything, when your marriage is crumbling, when your business is not working out, when you're indebted, when you're distressed, when you're discontent? How does that look like? So discipline looks like this. Number one, you need to accept. Listen to me. You need to accept your situation. You need to know, I have hit rock bottom. These men accepted that, you know what, we're indebted, we're discontent, we're distressed. You see, many men will not move away from that circle to accept that there is a problem. And you see, if you don't know there is a problem, you can never fix it. So discipline says, disciplined people say there is a problem. Let me use people who run. They will realize, by the way, I'm not hitting the time. This 100 meters, I'm supposed to run it in 7 seconds, and I'm using 20. Recently, I was going to swim with my daughters, and we were timing ourselves. And every time I would win, or they would win, would go back and say, no, we need to hit the time. You need to accept that, by the way, I'm losing. So if I'm losing, I need to do something. You need to accept that, by the way, I'm so much in debt, so I need to do something. And you need to accept that, by the way, anxiety, depression is hitting me. This is what these men did. They accepted, they said, you know what? You cannot fix what you don't know and what you have not accepted. So the first place is to say, you know what? I am doing bad. I'm doing bad. So discipline commands you to accept the situation you are in, so that then as a man, you can put the remedy. You are able to say, okay, what is the solution? So number one, discipline says accept that there is a challenge. And what is your challenge as a man? What has caused you to lose hope? What has hit you rock bottom? You've got to accept that and say, this is where I am. It doesn't mean it's where I will always stay. It just simply means the awareness of the problem. This is where I'm at. I'm struggling here. I'm in debt. I'm distressed. I'm discontent. Until we do that, you will never be a disciplined man. So everyone that is disciplined, they know the place they are at. Number two, focus. Discipline requires focus. You see, what amazes me about these men, the men that were in debt, the men that were distressed and discontent, they chose to focus. To focus on who? They chose to focus to their leader and to focus on the solution of becoming mighty warriors. David was a warrior from childhood. And the only thing he would give them is to turn them into warriors. And they chose to set themselves apart. They left the accolades out there. They left the things around there and focused. They left the joy out there, the partying and the living free. They left all that. And they decided to focus on becoming great warriors. In fact, 1 Chronicles 12:8 tells us that they became mighty warriors. That's what it tells us. They became men that held their spears and killed tens of thousands of people. But in order for you to become such a man, and yet a few years ago you were in debt, a few years ago you were distressed, it requires you to completely focus. So as a man, I want you to turn your focus on what God created you to do. And by the way, it's something that you have to make a choice. So focus and say, you know what? I'm going to start a shop. And I'm going to grow it. Focus, you know what? I'm going to go back and do that degree. I'm going to go back and finish it. Focus and say, now I know my workplace is not the best, but I have some work I've been given. I'm going to focus and give it my very best. Focus is an ingredient for disciplined people. They are focused. Maybe you're struggling with weight as a man. Focus and say, the next 6 months, I'm going to shed off this weight. Focus on that. Don't run after 3 things, because that's what happens. I see many people running after 3 things. And I tell men, no. Focus on that one thing. Because right now, you have lost hope. You need to get something that will bring hope to you. So you can focus on the many when hope arises. Focus and win in one area. Discipline means that I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to focus on this one thing and win at it. This is what the men did. They were distressed. They focused on David and becoming mighty warriors. They trained. They focused on becoming warriors. Great fighters. They focused on that. And now we read verses after. 2 Samuel also speaks about it, verse 28. It speaks about what these mighty warriors became. The Eliezers became men that rescued Israel, that fought. When David cried for just a sigh, I need some water, these men went into the camp of the Philistines and took them over and got the water. Why? Because they focused on becoming the best warriors that Israel has ever seen. And we have never had any other like that. So focus. Discipline has focus. Number 3, discipline has consistency. Woo! This is the tough one for you men. Consistency is tough. I can see how when my wife is watching this, is going to tell me, yes, you have to be consistent. You tell your children, you say, I'm going to be looking, one of the habits I have at home is to make sure my daughters read the Bible before they sleep. They come and read for me. They summarize it. But sometimes I forget to do that. Or sometimes I come back and I'm tired. I don't want to know. I just want to sleep. I want to sleep. But that's not consistency. You have to focus and be consistent. The game is won in consistency. These men were consistent. Consistent means you keep at it whether you want or not. Whether it rains or not, you keep at it. You keep at it. So discipline means be consistent. When you're supposed to show up at 8, you show up at 8, whether you want it or not. When you are supposed to start work at this time, go and work. You consistency. And most men, we struggle with consistency. We date our wives 1-2 times. The 3rd time, we give up. We get another thing. We tell ourselves, we're going to do this. Yes, I'm going to do this. And then you start it. Midway, you leave. You start a course. Midway, you go. We lack consistency. But discipline tells us to be what? Consistent. So I'm calling you as a man. Would you be consistent in your fathering? Be consistent as a husband. Be consistent as an employee. Be consistent as an employer. Be consistent in your reading. Men read. Men are readers. Be consistent. The way you're consistent in watching a Man U game or a Liverpool game or an Arsenal game, you're very consistent. You never miss that. The way you're consistent in going for rugby club and check out which game, the consistency in sport is the consistency I want you to bring in all areas of your life. Be consistent. Have a rhythm of when do you wake up, when do you sleep, what do you do. Be consistent. And one of the tools that can help you to be consistent is this. Apply your calendar. Let your calendar be consistent. Just look at your calendar and you'll see whether you're consistent or not. Now, the other part, so we've looked at, you need to accept. Discipline has an element of accepting where you are. I'm rock bottom. I need to rise up. Number two, you need to focus. Focus on a win. We want a win. Whenever you have lost hope, we're looking for at least one win. Focus on one thing, like these men that were with the 400 men that were with David. Then number three, be consistent in what you're doing. Be consistent. One of the shockers I have whenever I'm in the corporate space, most men that are CEOs, even women, they would rather employ women. And one of the things they'll tell you, women are consistent. Pastor Andrew, I can trust a woman. They are consistent. So I'm thinking, wow, that should be said of men. Men are consistent. Then lastly, with discipline, we've got to be hardworking. Hardworking. These men put in the work. Men, let's put in the work. When you have lost hope, when you are distressed, when you are discontent, I know the feeling inside you, you don't want to put in the work. You don't want. You want to be alone. In fact, men say, I want to be in my nothing box. But this is the time you should be putting in the work. The men that followed David, they put in the work. And that's why they were called mighty men of David. Mighty warriors. They put in the work. They became the best warriors. You cannot become the best warrior in the entire nation of Israel if you have not put in the work. So men, let's start putting in the work. Accept that you're rock bottom. Focus on a win. Be consistent at doing it and put in the work. Men, I want you to put in the work. Put in the work. Put in the work. The marriage is struggling, it's rock bottom. Put in the work. At work, you're not progressing. Put in the work. You're not connecting with good friends. Put in the work. You're struggling getting the friends around you. Put in the work to create friends. Put in the work. If you work hard, I can tell you, you will live a life that will bring you back to thriving. Instead of losing hope, you'll be now the hope giver. You'll be the one giving hope to other men. Why? Because you're a disciplined man. That's why Paul says, I beat myself every day. That's what the greatest apostle said. I beat my body every day. I discipline it. You can do it. I want you to do it. Jesus, our model, was one of the greatest disciplined men I know. The time he woke up to go and pray, the miles he walked in the Jerusalem, and when I was in Israel, I could see how he would climb the hills. It's all hilly, but he would do it every day. Every day. Very disciplined. So if he can do it, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So I want you to be a disciplined man. Because if you are not disciplined, you are like a city without a wall that protects. If you want to be a strong, great men are disciplined men. They accept where they are at. They focus on winning. They are consistent in their execution of everything they do. And they are extremely hardworking. If you do those things, I can tell you as a man, you'll come out of the ashes of despair and rise to a place of significance. And that's my prayer for you. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure spending some time with you and teaching you some of this. I want you to go and exercise discipline in everything you do. In everything you do, I want you to be a disciplined man and see what God is going to do. He's going to lift you from despair to great influence. God bless you from us here at Encounter to you. God bless you. We love you. We honor you. Please make sure you subscribe to this content. Share it with other people so that other men are also built. Our greatest desire is to build great men so that men can build great families and great nations. God bless you from I to you. Bye-bye.